What if your brain could control your robot and everything else? That's what we're here to talk about today is emerging technology with Warren Whitlock. I'm here to explain what I know about the future and trends and things that are going to make our life more abundant. One of the big ones that I am really anticipating is changing the way we talk to computers. And I guess the example, the best to tell how this works is to imagine that there was a time when you might have had a computer. I don't know if you can remember that before, when you first got a computer before the internet, or maybe it's always had the internet for you. But we had many years where we used our personal computers and did not have an internet connection. And we got smart and hooked them together. So we had office networks. And then we hooked that up with phone lines. Next thing you know, we were on full time with the Wi-Fi and the current protocols they have today. I wanted to talk about where we are with BCI, which is also brain computer interface, and what's happening. The most commonly talked about one is Neuralink, but there's more. I want to talk about a more general term about the things it's going to do to change your life. So imagine you had that computer or you had a phone without a signal. There are a lot of things you can do, but boy, does it accelerate once you get that hooked up to the rest of the computers. As people, we can gather, we can talk, we can communicate, we can read body language, we can use touch and sight and smell and all sorts of things to help us communicate better with people. But it's to communicate with the computer, we have to go against what people normally do. We have to think about something, then transmit it to our fingers, and then type it. Even with a voice interface, you got to say that. Now, the next thing would be to actually merge. So we're not quite ready to merge people, but we can merge minds by using a brain computer interface. The BCIs are already out there being used, and it seems like being able to tell your robot to go make dinner would be a nice thing to have, or to have the ability to look up anything just by thinking about it. I need to know more about, and suddenly you know. That's best portrayed in the Matrix movies, where they say, I know Kung Fu, or I need to fly that helicopter. I don't know how to fly a helicopter. Give me a minute. Oh, yeah, I know how to fly a helicopter. That's pretty cool stuff. But right now, the things that I think are even more important to the world, if people who are locked in with either body problems or brain problems or being able to connect in any way and being able to get a connection where they can communicate faster. Probably have seen people communicating by pointing a laser or their stick at an alphabet on a board and spelling out everything they want to say. Stephen Hawking's then had one where he could think the letters and get them to spell words and communicate that way. Got a little bit faster, a unnatural voice. Now we've got the voice to text, the text to voice down pretty good. When we add the ability to hook that into brains of people that cannot speak or hear for that matter, it really speeds up communication. That alone is millions of people worldwide need that. So there's not a bad thing there. Where it gets a little bit more creepy for some people is when that brain is actually going to be able to communicate and tell other brains that are hooked up, immunity, that's what we all want, and along with our devices, tell them what to do. And so and right now we're at the point where they've been able to restore speech with 97% accuracy to allow people who have lost the ability to speak a way to speak. They also are working on some non-invasive ways of doing this, because even though the interface right now takes them cutting a hole in your skull and sticking a chip inside with thousands of electrodes, which is just amazing to me that they don't have to stick electrodes all over the place. Just one. I've heard dime size, I've heard quarter size, and they put the piece of skull back. And the interesting side note on that, in case you didn't know, and I forget sometimes, because I surely can feel when I touch my head or if I bump my head. But when they cut a hole in the side of your head, you could feel that part, but your brain has no nerve ending to feel that anything's going on. So it's actually a fairly painless procedure compared to open heart surgery or something like that. And so once you do, then that attaches. Usually, I think you can use a magnet so that you stick a magnet on the side of your head and it's got the connections and it starts talking to your head. They're even looking at some wireless ones. Those things get smaller and more complete and do other things. You can put on a hat and do that. And that's been my thing I'm promoting. And someday I may get around to researching this and talking to you more about it. But the hat, imagine today that you take everything that's in your cell phone, your smartphone, and you stick that into a hat. And the hat then has a brim all the way around with cameras and microphones and a projector so that you can see anything it wants you to see, and it can listen to your voice to tell it what to do, and you got things pretty good. That I think that's available today. You take some of the battery weight and all of the metal case and whatnot out of your phone and put it into this hat. You could actually then be able to very quickly communicate and do everything with just putting on a hat. If that hat also had, say, in the oh, usually it's white and it's inside a hat. Then I can't get the word, the band, and have that then have magnetic resonance or some kind of very low Bluetooth kind of a connection in it, then it could talk to a chip inside your head. And the cool thing about that would be, and this is theoretical, by the way, let's not get too far into predicting anything out of this one. You take the hat off and you're no longer connected to the internet with the big brother brains controlling you, but you are able to put it on and then learn how to fly a helicopter. The storage inside our brains immense, so much more than we're using. The RAM, the memory that we have, it seems to be almost infinite compared to what we use, that it works on having neural connections. And the more of those connections you make, the more you got some stuff to worry about to make sure it doesn't get too creepy. And it probably won't be in a hat. But imagine when you have the ability, and other things I've read is that they've tried the tip of the tongue with the electrodes and restore hearing or sight to somebody by communicating through the tongue. Talking's a little weird if you're doing that. So they've also done it on a finger. And it's just amazing what you can get. My watch today can read things about my blood by a little laser light that's inside it. You probably have seen this. Now, when they check for your vitals in a hospital or doctor's office, they clip something onto your index finger and get readings there. As we miniaturize and change this and use AI to give us some more ideas on this and do the calculations for us, we try to figure these things out. It's not going to be long that's going to be available. First question is, are you going to use it? I don't know. If somebody came to me today and said they wanted the hat, maybe, but if it was drilling a hole in my head and connecting me to be one of the first to get the abilities that come from that, I want to be close to the front of the line. I'm not sure I want to be at the front of that line. No, I'm a little bit worried about the safety because my brain is pretty important. I don't want to lose it, but I'm not worried about whether or not some big brother's going to take control of me and make me do things I don't want to do. Perhaps they'll come out with one. I don't have the physical abilities I once had when I was younger. Maybe I'll get some of those back. Maybe it's sending signals. I just saw a video only moments ago uh, before starting this, I was watching a video about things that they are able to treat with fecal injections. And yes, that does mean poop. By using those, they're able to change the gut biome, the bacteria that's working in your liver. And in tests, they have been able to take people with cirrhosis of the liver and not only help them heal the liver, but also their desire to drink alcohol goes way down. You fix an alcoholic with an injection to make them more normal, if you will. And that's, and also the rest of the video, I had to tell you about that part because it's poop. Maybe we should have a clip with poop, the poop of the future. We won't go any farther into that. I'm done with my being a 12-year-old boy. I'll come back and discuss it. The other thing they were talking about is how the right kind of bacteria inside your gut can communicate with your brain and fix things like Parkinson's disease with meth. And then, of course, it did something about those cravings. One of the connections is a hormone that transmits, I believe you call it a hormone that transmits from your stomach to your brain to tell it that you're full, not keep feeding, because your stomach doesn't have any way to talk to your mouth. It has to go through the brain. And that signal has been changed. I know with bariatric surgery, sometimes people come out of that with just not the hunger that they had before. That's not the reason. They'll call that a good reason or outcome for the surgery, other than it seems to be a sometimes byproduct. But when we start looking at all the amazing things that can be done with that, it's just the other day, I was reading something else about how many cells we have, that a human is created from one cell. And they were talking about some regenerative processes with stem cell. And he said, you have 1 trillion cells in your body, but you have trillions of bacteria living in your body. So good, bad, whatever. And they're learning more and more about that, what happens inside a cell, and be able to give it signals. With the advances we're making in all the other emerging technologies, I think that one's going to come a lot faster than we think. And if that is helping you to, whether it's changing DNA or having a different bacteria in you, or controlling more of how your body works, and do some amazing things. And I think that includes being able to control things with your brain. So let me see. So it's not what in the lab videos or whatever that may have been out there, is you don't need a lot of machinery, and it's going to be safer for everyone, thanks to the heroes, the people who have lost the ability to speak or something like that. We're helping them out, and it's costing a lot of money per patient to do that. But in return, we're getting pretty good at this now. And they say that the trend is, I don't want to put a prediction on how many years, but close. This old man thinks he's going to see a lot of it. And so if you're younger than me, which would be everyone, and you should be expecting these kind of things to happen. Another reason to stay fit is we're going to live longer. You got to take care of your body. I know there's things now that when I have to put on a hearing aid and glasses and still can't get around like I used to, I wonder just how long this body's going to last. But there are things now that are making the body of a 90-year-old work like a 50-year-old. And boy, I'm going to tell you, 50 was pretty good. And 50 is back to 30, 90 to 30, maybe in a rat study. But these are treatments that they're doing that are going to make us all sick around. So take care of yourself, because there's a lot more to come and a lot more you can do when with the emerging tech like AI can expand. Salesforce just said they're not hiring more engineers because their engineers are 30% more productive as a whole. So on average, all their engineers are doing 30% more code or architecture or whatever the engineers are working on. And they've slowed down, and currently there's a freeze on hiring engineers. Think of all the other jobs that are going to expand like that. The expansion is what you got to look at. if you think, hey, they may take my job, because it's true. In just a few more years, it's going to be anything happening like this is going to be able to be done by an AI at least as well. I have an AI avatar that I'm training now. Expect to see that soon. I probably have promoted it more than once on here. But I just had a meeting also a half hour ago where I found out that I'm going to get in the back end and be able to see what we're going to put into that. And their new goal is to have an NFT token for, it's going to need a different name, for every person on Earth, so that everybody will be able to afford to use an interface that stores any data they want. With your Twin Vault, you'll be able to put everything in there. So I guess the big learning from studying and getting ready for this one was just how cool it's going to be if we don't kill ourselves first. You've got better odds than me. I'm still planning on being around a lot longer. Take care of yourself. And I didn't mention the gaming. Do I need to mention the gaming? Yeah, should lead with the gaming. It's the fun part. Yeah. When you play a game, not just immersive, not just visual virtual reality, but actually it feels like you are in the place. You can't, everything you do actually interfaces. You don't need controller. You don't need the right hand gestures. You can go around and live in an alternate world. Societal implication for this stuff, I'll leave that to another day and another podcast. But it's coming. Get ready for it. Expect it. And we're going to live in a much better world thanks to the emerging technology.